Nanjit will introduce himself and talk about his Big Electron project. I'll leave you to inspire everybody.
Sure, thank you. Hi everyone, sorry for the delay, a few technical glitches, but we're up and running. So today, I'll be talking about my practice and also the challenge of high-functioning anxiety in society. So let's just get started. I'd like to start with a quote from one of my artist idols, Daniel Martin Diaz. The laws of physics are the new miracles. Quantum physics is the new witchcraft, and modern chemistry is the new alchemy. Art articulates the unknown. It brings awareness and elements of being that have not yet entered the collective consciousness. It expands the landscape and moves civilization forward into the realm of the undiscovered. It tries to dissect what is yet unimaginable, give value to the valueless, and meaning to what it is to be human. The artist here, Daniel Martin Diaz, a Mexican-American artist, he calls back on pseudosciences, alchemical practices, witchcraft, magic, but he compares them to modern-day objective scientific fields of chemistry, physics, biology. And I find from the 16th century mechanistic way, the birth of modern-day science, the Western science has got us so much from this world today, isn't enough to decipher or kind of understand or make sense of our life on this planet and this universe. It ranges from the phenomenological experiences of the human condition, as well as the objective-based sciences, an objective way of looking at mathematics and other ways of being. My practice tries to relate the human experience, human consciousness, to the rest of the universe, essentially, to the cosmos, to other human beings, to other societies, to other cultures, but also to the non-human world. Not just having walls of separation, but actually bridges of connection between all of us, all of our different upbringings, all of our different cultures, as well as to different life beings, life forms, and organisms. My drawing work, as well as my sculptural work, tries to talk about these notions of the human experience, as well as the experience of life forms in this universe. This is Rorschach's Dilemma, a drawing that I did in 2023, this year. In fact, play, before I just get into that, play has always been a big part of my life. An early memory of mine was winning a toy making competition when I was in year 4, back in my home city of Bangalore, India. In fact, play is what got me into architecture and pursue a career in architecture because of model making. I saw a model in my neighbor's house, his home office, and that inspired me to pursue architecture. From when I was a kid, I grew up with a Western style of education, but with Eastern values. This is my first time outside my home country of India, in London, and I've got to meet the best, brightest people from all over the world, and it's so multicultural. But I've always seen the othering of people and places. We all love a good isometric exploded view, so I put that in for architects and product designers in the room. This is my thesis project. It was designed to be portable modular housing units for construction workers in Bangalore city. I saw firsthand in my practice of architecture the disparities between different cultures, between different countries, especially in the construction industry. Within India, even the labor force, to the clients, to the policymakers, to the architects, the designers, there's so many gaps, so much of othering, and so much of use to the situation. My knowledge of the socioeconomic disparities in the world grew further more and more. And not just between humans and other species, other life forms, and all of existence as a whole. Right now, my practice involves 3 strains. They're constants right now, other than architecture, is drawing, toy making, and kinetic design. Just a drawing I had done earlier. Toy making, and kinetic sculpture. What I found in my research of ancient cultures and also of 20th century philosophy is that there are many parallels between the two, between existential philosophy, absurdist philosophy, and also early monistic, Hindu, Buddhist, Islamic, Greek, you name it, and there are parallels that you can find. They all talk about mindfulness, but in different ways, in different languages, but essentially it's all about interrelativity, interconnections, and not just separation, not just othering of people, actually finding solace between interrelations and not just the individual. I like to challenge these notions of the self within my artwork, but not directly. I like to approach it from a different lens. Just like how I've learned about Western culture through an Eastern lens, I'm learning about Eastern culture through a Western lens. And these kind of notions of West, East, they don't really exist. The global North, the global South, these are just perceptions. We're all just part of this one existence. At least I'd like to think so. So I split existentialism into two bigger parts or categories. The individual or our societal kind of existential anxieties, as well as collective existential anxieties. Certain individual ones, I'm sure we all relate, our families, our friends, our careers, society as a whole just outside this building, but also timeless kind of questions of anxiety. Why? When? But also all the while aware that maybe 13.8 billion years ago it started, maybe. Maybe there is a God, we don't know. But we all know, if we believe in science, which is such an odd statement to make, that the Earth is at some point going to collide with the sun is going to explode. There is an end, but somehow there is also meaning. As I said, I try to do this with my drawings, trying to relate the micro verses to the macro verses, blurring the lines using scale and different forms of repetition and drawing techniques. Play, as I said, I think is a very powerful tool. It has helped me cope with my anxiety, but also it's kind of like the snake eating its own tail. What causes our creativity also is the one that diminishes it, or is the one that challenges us. It's an ongoing process. And all the things that we can think of within this creative process of making, the finishing, the ending, is so much like life and death. It's so much like existence and non-existence. And I can't help but see so many parallels between the human, the cosmos, between animals. And I think all of this makes our immediate othering so futile. So I make toys. I've been kind of gone through a process where I'd had to say that I make interesting kinetic sculptures inspired by this and that. But I went through that cycle, and I just make toys, and I'm very happy saying that. I think a toy is a very powerful tool and a very playful tool at the same time. I love a paradox if it's not clear. This is an octopus toy that I made for my niece because she likes octopi. It should be a video, but I guess it's a glitchy day, so maybe the video won't play for you. Oh, it is a video. My bad. So I could stand here and talk about the octopus being a super intelligent being, knows how, so comparable or comparable to the human experience and human intelligence, or I could just say that I love bright colors and it's a funny moving octopus with a gear. I like the second part a bit more. These toys are magnetic toys inspired by the atom. I actually have a few of them here. I'm just going to hand it out to you, and you can have a bit of fun with it. Give that to you. I send it to the back. Sorry. Fun. So these are designed to be meditative tools, but also playful tools at the same time. These are the dream generators. I like the idea of a dream catcher, but I didn't like the idea of catching dreams. So I was like, why don't we make our own dreams? So I made dream generators instead of dream catchers. I have them as well, but I'm like single-handed right now, so I will show you guys. But maybe for the online audience, I'm very careful with my stuff. And it turns that way. Well, so I try to make my designs as modular as I can, and my teammate Nina is in the audience today will know that I tend to make the designs so that they break and they fail just so I can see the reaction of the audience when they break something. Because there's so much we're so apprehensive in art galleries, we find like we should take a step back from the work, arm's length of the work. And that's somehow, again, the mechanistic way of looking at the universe, looking at everything from an arm's length, not putting ourselves in it. So I like when my toys break. I like when people are confident and they approach the work by themselves. Which brings me to the big electron. The big electron is a timeless machine that was forged through the existence of time. It was inspired directly by George Carlin, a stand-up comedian who was active in America from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. He spoke about the concept and his vision of the universe and called it the big electron in his 1992 stand-up comedy special. In that, he envisions the universe and all of existence in a pulsating ball of energy and, quote, "It does not give, it does not take, it does not reward, it does not punish, it simply is for a little while." And here I'd like to address why I don't say that I'm trying to cure high-functioning anxiety, but I want to address the challenge of it. The very anxieties, this is the big electron, by the way, which is on display here in the other room. The very anxieties that deter us are the same anxieties that drive us towards addressing the loss of biodiversity, to looking at the socio-economic disparities, again, calling back to my experience as an architect and as a child in the south of India. I took all the sacred geometry from all the ancient cultures I could fathom and put them all together in one single piece. This was, again, in reference to Carlin, not just to blur the lines between all of us sitting in this room today, but also to blur the lines between us and the rest of the cosmos. It's going to be a short snippet of the video, of the electron in action. The piece is interactive, and it's run with a mechano spring motor. Mechano, mechanistic, another reference to Descartes again. The other elements represent, as you see right now, the hand model, Nina, my teammate, are the 7 chakras of the human body. I've placed us within all of these cultures, within this whole universe, kind of asking the universe, what are you? But we are the universe, so it's kind of the universe asking itself, what am I? It's a bit absurd, and that's where the existential absurdism philosophy comes in. For time, I'm just going to skip over this video, but I'd like to just mention about the scale again. I'm trying to challenge architecture. I'm trying to challenge products. We don't need just sleek designs anymore. Triple, double glazed buildings. The Shard is one of my favorite buildings. I had never been to London, but it's one of my favorite buildings ever. But as I see it, I see more than just its beauty, it's also just globalizing culture. And I feel we can have idiosyncratic and global culture simultaneously, not just one or the other. From the big electron were birthed these relics. I don't like to waste the pieces that come out of laser cutting. I'm sure all of us are very aware of that. So I try to make these tiny relics. And in those, one of them stood out to me. This is the big electron 2.0. With the big electron 2.0, I was inspired, again, by ancient cultures. Aboriginal American, Native American, and also traditional masks that you see in Bharatanatyam, Kathakali, but also in various parts of the African continent in the different tribal communities. Again, it's an interactive sculpture, but now with 3 spring motors, so we need more people to interact with it. My goal was to go from the single to a community to the entire world being one big electron. If I can, in my lifetime, I would like to make this galactic level kinetic sculpture. Just another few shots of the electron. Within the sculpture, within the big electron 1, I've hidden 3 ladders. They're tiny miniature ladders. If you find them, you win a prize. And I challenge anyone to find them. It's not that difficult. With the big electron 2, I again want to add these smaller details, these maquettes of buildings, different architectures, ladders. So they're again interactive by the people, by children, make their own narratives out of it. It doesn't have to be a straightforward, scale toy. It can be anything you'd like it to be, just like any other board game, where there's no winning or losing, there's just playing the game. This is just a short animation of the big electron. The triangles are where the gears are connected, the mechanisms are connected. This is the iris. This is one of my favorite parts, and also it's going to be the end of me. It's going to be very difficult to make that. I've tried, and it is quite difficult, but that's one of the interesting parts for me personally. A lot of the geometries in this one, again, draw inspiration from, as I mentioned, a lot of the Aboriginal Australian, tribalistic African, and also Native American, but all of them have ties to South Indian temples. Anyway. I'd like to thank everyone for coming today. I'd like to thank Mom and Dad who are watching online, hopefully, and all of you. It's just been such a great pleasure. I'd like to thank Alec as well, and Tere, of course. But if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them if I can. Thank you so much.
I have a question. Because,
Hi.
I think that at moments when there's a lot of political conflict of people from different religions, I find it quite inspiring to see someone that actually is trying to embrace how all religions speak about the same feeling or need of spirituality. So, first, why have you come up with this concept? And secondly, have you received resistance to this concept?
So the concept, I think that question is quite difficult to answer because I try to pick a certain point when I came up with this concept, and but the why is actually a bit easier to answer. I grew up in a North and South Indian household back in India, which has its own challenges. Of course, I spent 99% of my life in Bangalore city. But still, I saw the disparity between North and South of India quite a lot. I also saw the disparity between me having a Western style of education, between my different friends who had grown up and done their learning and growing through Hindi or Kannada. I know these languages, but my schooling was not in those languages. So I always saw an othering. Then when I came here, I learned about the diaspora, the Indian diaspora, the black community, the diaspora of the black community, Asian community, all across the world. And London is such a beautiful melting pot of all of these areas. The more I saw connections, the more I faced resistance of othering. The more I saw of people talking about cultural appropriation, the more I heard people talking about, no, that's just theirs. But I couldn't understand, if we're all human, isn't everything everyone's? Why don't we start from there? But the resistance I found in this is only when I ask people to actually interact with it, they're afraid to touch it still. So my goal my bigger aspiration is to take all those tiny relics and make more and more kinetic sculptures, getting funding for them so that I can give away these for free. I can take them around to schools around the world. I want to make all the drawings, the design, the models completely accessible. I know some of my idols do make their art completely accessible. These are mine, of course, yeah, I've made them, but they're everyone's. I think all of our art is everyone's. It doesn't just belong to me. It just came through me for right now. I know I've taken a lot of time. Thank you for that cue, Alec. Thank you for the question.